Finding an oral surgeon is hard enough for yourself, and when it comes to your kids, it can feel impossible. We suggest our friends at Stewart and Arango because from emergencies to wisdom teeth and everything in between, they have you covered. Stewart and Arango are board certified with MDs who specialize in full scope oral, facial, and implant surgeries for both children and adults. Not only is their office state of the art, they lead the industry with the most advanced techniques and procedures. And when it comes to safety, they are pediatric and adult advanced life support certified and use a 3-day local anesthesia, which keeps you comfortable while limiting the use of opioids. Best part is, they're conveniently located at Northwest Highway and Hillcrest Avenue. So if you want the best of Big D caliber oral care, come see the friendly staff at Stewart and Arango. To learn more about them or book your appointment, visit saoralsurgeons.com. That's saoralsurgeons.com. Welcome to the Bubble Lounge. I'm Martha Jackson, and it is Halloween this week. And I was trying to think of who would be the perfect guest to have this week. And it turns out we have this amazing author in the neighborhood who has written 9 crime thrillers. In his new book, The Life and Death of Rose Doucette, he recounts a very interesting story of 2 detectives, one who was married to Rose and one who is currently married to Rose. The 2 have to collaborate together and try to solve her murder. If you've ever watched the movie LA Confidential, you are going to love the way this story comes about. I am so excited to introduce you to best-selling author and longtime Highland Park resident, Harry Hunsicker. Harry, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
So you grew up in Highland Park. Tell us about that experience and how this environment and the community influenced your storytelling.
So I grew up in Highland Park. I actually live in the house I grew up in, which is a strange thing. I'm not the only person I know who lives in the house they grew up in, though. I know a couple, 3 other people. But I love the Park Cities. It's such a small town environment, and everyone's so friendly. Go to the parade every year, and just the community traditions. Now, that did not inform crime writing very much, but it was a good base to be started from. How's that for a convoluted sentence?
Yeah, I was going to ask if any of the local elements show up in any of your books.
So there are some Park Cities. The Park Cities does show up. I had a couple scenes in. Actually, there's scenes in this book. I forget. You write them and they go out of your mind. But I usually set a scene in Highland Park. In the last 2 or 3 books, I've done that.
Your latest book, The Life and Death of Rose Doucette, just came out this month. Can you give us kind of some information about it and tell us a little bit about the book?
Yeah, I sure will. It came out this month. It's a crime thriller, and the story is about a private detective forced to partner with a man who broke up his marriage.
Oh, wow.
And he's forced to partner with that man because he's trying to find out who killed his ex-wife. And whoever killed his ex-wife has framed the murder on the hero of our story, the private detective. And the villain is coming after the private detective as well as the man who broke up the marriage. So these 2 guys have to put aside their considerable differences and work together to figure out what the woman they both loved was into.
Oh, wow. That sounds intense. Well, you've written 9 crime thrillers, numerous short stories, and even a short screenplay.
A short screenplay,
That is a lot. How do you balance writing across all these different avenues?
I have no idea. The voices in my head are very busy. That's what my wife likes to say. She said, "Are you talking to those people again in your head?" And I go, "Yes, I am."
Well, that's what it takes to be an author.
It is. I mean, you've got to. I started writing the screenplays as a way to stretch a different muscle between writing novels, because writing a novel to me is like running a marathon.
Sure.
And so there's like a cool down period, so to speak. So I kind of write short stories or screenplays as that cool down period.
Well, that makes sense. Do you have a favorite?
A favorite what? Novel or screenplay or
of all these different things that you work on? Do you have a favorite?
So that's like asking your favorite child. I think I really kind of went deep into the character on The Life and Death of Rose Doucette. So right now, that's going to be my favorite. I'm going to say that's my favorite book. That's subject to change, but right now, the new one is The Life and Death of Rose Doucette is my favorite.
She's your favorite. Well, that makes sense. I wanted to give a personal thank you to our good friend and show sponsor, Kathy L. Wall State Farm Agency. We have known Kathy for more than 15 years, and there is no person we trust more when it comes to insurance than Kathy L. Wall. Kathy is always available to help you find the right insurance for your family needs. Whether it's covering your home, auto, or providing a life insurance policy tailored to the unique needs of families in Highland Park. My family trusts Kathy with our insurance, and we hope you will too. Please visit kathylwall.com to learn more and let her know that Martha from the Bubble Lounge sent you. Well, true crime and crime thrillers are really having their moment right now and have been for quite some time. Right. People just love that genre, and it really explores the darker side of humanity. What draws you to that genre?
Well, I grew up reading crime thrillers and detective novels and mysteries and spy thrillers and things like that. So I filled up with a lot of stories like that, and at some point I decided I wanted to let them out, and then for whatever reason, I just like kind of dark things, dark, funny things, Coen brother type things. So that has informed a lot of my storytelling too.
Well, how do you keep things fresh when you've worked on so many different things? How do you keep it fresh and alive?
So I have become in recent years a big proponent of Julia Cameron's book, The Artist's Way. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No.
It's a great book for anybody out there listening who has any kind of creative bent and they're having trouble getting started. She's got a program about how to overcome your resistance to being creative. And one of the main things she advocates is writing morning pages, which are 3 longhand pages you write by longhand every morning about anything you want to. And it kind of gets, it taps into your subconscious, sort of. It's a little new age woo-woo-y for me, but I'm a big believer. I don't know why they work, but they work for some reason, writing these morning pages. Three pages every morning by longhand.
That sounds really interesting. I just think this longhand writing, I don't like that it's kind of been phased out because you get so much more out of it when you're actually physically writing it on paper.
There is a connection. There's a deeper connection to yourself, to the page, and all that stuff than there is when you're typing.
Sure, right. Like I'm constantly taking handwritten notes. Sometimes I don't ever look at them again, but I think it helps me remember things better.
Yes, without a doubt.
Well, you've been shortlisted for both the Seamus and the Thriller Awards, which is an amazing achievement.
Thank you.
How has that recognition impacted your career as a writer?
So everybody thinks I won them, which is awesome. I get that a lot. I say, "Oh, you won all these awards." I go, "Well, yes, I have." No, I haven't. No, I go, "Oh, I've been nominated, but thank you." I just think it adds something to the resume and shows that people, my work has resonated with people.
Yeah, you're recognized. I think that's incredible. Harry, I want to hear more about your new book. Just how did you come up with this concept? What inspired you?
So at the heart of the book is these 2 guys who have to put aside their differences to work together, to figure out who murdered the woman they both loved. I mean, and they have considerable differences because one took the woman away from the other man. So that is kind of the crux of the story. It's not the crux. That's a significant part of the story. The idea that came from an element of L.A. Confidential. I don't know if you've seen that movie. Yeah,
of course.
Great movie, great book. But there's a part of that story which is about 3 police officers in L.A. in the 50s investigating a single murder, and they're all coming at it from a different place, and none of them like each other because they all have a different form of corruption pushing on them. But they realize the murder is bigger than what they are thinking. It involves more than they think, and so they have to put aside their differences and work together to help each other out. And so I that idea resonated with me, which is people who are opposed to each other, or diametrically opposed to each other, having to work together for the greater good. And so that is what kind of is at the heart of Rose Doucette.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm always impressed with authors, and I always like to ask just about character development, because you have to go so deep to really make people feel like they know each of these individuals. Tell me about your process for character development.
So character development is a strange thing. Developing a story is a strange thing. It's a weird thing. I've done it 9 times that have been published. There's others that have not been published. But I've done it 9 times, and every time the gestation period for the story is different. I wish I could say there's some standardization that comes that after 9 times you kind of, I know how to do it this time, but every time it's different. Coming up with a novel, a story, it's a chicken and an egg thing, and they have to interlock together at the same time, but you can't really do the character independent of what the story will be, and you can't do the story independent of what the character will be, at least in my experience. So I typically will come up, and then there's the setting, the world you're going to occupy. And so you have to look at all that and kind of think about first of all, what world and what type of characters you're willing to spend a year with, which is, that's an important part of it, because there's a lot of work to writing a 300-page novel, believe it or not.
I would think so.
So the characters usually come first. And I looked, certainly with this one, I looked for a guy who had something missing inside of him. And it turns out he was missing his relationship with his wife, because she divorced him out of the blue, and he didn't really understand. And as the book goes on, we kind of understand that he is grieving the death of his marriage. And then he's not over. There's still an empty there's still something empty inside of him that she filled.
Right.
And he doesn't even know that. I didn't really know it until I started writing, but that's what there is. And so he's trying to work around that. And that's how his character came to be.
Okay. Well, tell us about Rose. What made her so compelling that he couldn't seem to get past his relationship?
So they were both police officers.
Oh, okay.
And he resigned from the force right after she divorced him. He didn't want to be a cop anymore, and she stayed on as a police officer. And she, spoiler alert, she dies very soon, like in the second chapter of the book. It's called The Life and Death of Rose Doucette. But she is doesn't mean she's not a fully formed character throughout the book, because we see her through the eyes of her ex-husband, her current husband or widower, and friends and family who know her.
Right.
And so we're in one point of view, the main character, and he just keeps investigating. But each layer of the onion he peels back, we see another aspect of Rose's character. And she's a deep character. And I can't tell you why she's so deep, because that's a spoiler. But she had some stuff. She is connected to some stuff that is damaged her.
Oh, wow. Okay. Things that he probably didn't know about.
He did not know about.
Oh, wow.
Neither did her current husband.
Oh, wow. Well, this is getting interesting.
Yeah.
I love it. Are you looking to hire a nanny? Then you need to contact HelloNanny.com. Trying to find a nanny on your own takes a lot of time. Sure, you can ask friends or scour Facebook groups for a referral. But then what? You still need to vet them, and that takes time and skill. That's why we recommend HelloNanny.com, because they take the guesswork out of finding the perfect childcare match. With more than 20 years of experience, HelloNanny.com vets every candidate for you, using a proven process that has helped other families in the Park Cities find the perfect nanny for their family. But they don't just help you find a nanny. HelloNanny.com walks you through every facet of managing a domestic worker, making sure you know all the rules and regulations. So if you're considering hiring a nanny, go with the experts and visit HelloNanny.com or call them at 844-266-2669 and let them help you take the guesswork out of finding the perfect nanny for your family. So you're married to Allison, your wife.
I am, yes.
Who is also an attorney.
Yes, she is. Well, I'm not an attorney.
Who is
an attorney, yes. Yeah. I play one on TV, but I act like an attorney all the time, but I'm not.
There you go. Do you guys ever collaborate, especially in regards to murder mystery?
No, but she is always my first reader, and she always has great advice.
Uh-huh.
She has great input. She's a big reader, so she has a lot of wisdom on how stories should go, and she kind of keeps me on track and kind of dials back. I tend to get carried away with a lot of the one-liners that the detective auditor says, and so she says, "Yeah, you might need to dial that back a little bit there." And so she has great story instincts.
So she kind of dials in your creativity. Just sometimes creative people, they can get carried away with certain things.
Yes, we can.
That's what makes you guys so unique and
That's
special.
right.
And that you're good at your craft.
Thank you for special. Thank you for saying we're special. We are something.
So tell me about the writing process. Earlier, you mentioned that you spent a year with this. Is that typically how long it takes to write a novel?
Yes. I mean, the writing itself is maybe 6 months, but there's as I've gone on, as I've continued to write, the more important, I realize how important an outline is.
Sure.
And so I spent a lot of time coming up with an outline on the front side, and then you write it, and then there's a lot of revision because there's stuff that you don't get right, and then I'm obsessive about getting the writing itself, the phrasing and the word choice and the everything exactly perfect. So I spent a lot of time on that. So a year-ish, all in.
It's pretty typical.
Right.
Well, that was going to be my other question is I would imagine when you're releasing something as important as a novel that you do get kind of OCD about it. And like,
yes.
you do want it to be perfect.
Yes.
How do you make yourself stop and be like, okay, it's time to move on. It's time to get this out there.
That is not the hard part. Stopping is not really the hard part. I know people say, "Oh, I could keep going. I don't know when to stop." I know when the story ends, and I can revise. And I get to a point where I've revised so much that I'm like, I really am at the place where I am not going to make it any better. And then I've learned that my eyes don't see the story or the writing with freshness that I need. So I, have an agent and then a publisher that looks at it from there.
Yeah. After spending a whole year with it, I'm sure it is hard to really see things that an outsider with new eyes would see. So, I mean, I don't know why people just ask these questions. Like, you just released the book, you're relishing the moment, you're doing your book signings and promoting it and everything. But do you know what's next after this?
So I do. I'm working on a draft of another crime novel.
Oh, good. Okay.
So it's not the same characters though. They may come back. Who knows? But I've got another one I'm working on. It's in the revision stage. It's in the obsessive revision stage.
Wow.
It's all obsession. So you know what I'm saying?
It sounds like you stay really busy. You just go from one to the next.
I do, yes.
Yeah, I'm sure. As we've talked about, you have done a lot of things. Let's talk about some of your past work, like your short film.
Yes. So I write screenplays kind of between the books, as we talked about. And I wrote, I don't know when, maybe 5 years ago, I wrote a short screenplay, and I was fortunate enough to get it produced. And it came out in, I guess, early 2023. We took it on the festival circuit, and it won some awards. It won Best Screenplay at a film festival in Idaho, of all places. So I had a great time with that. I always ask on something like this if you want to hear about it, because it's a little, the title's a little.
I do want to hear about it.
You do want to hear about it? Okay, so. The story of the short film is the story is about a hitman with irritable bowel syndrome. Right. Everybody gets a laugh out of that. And the title, of course, is how could it be anything else? But this title is Shit Squad.
Oh my!
And the S is in parentheses, so it goes Hit Squad. What now? So it's
funny.
It's a thing. Yes, it is funny. It is funny. So I poured a lot of my humorous stuff into that.
Well,
I had a good time.
I can tell you have a very good sense of humor, and that's pretty funny. Imagine you're on vacation and an urgent home maintenance issue arises. Trust me, it can happen. But if you were a Manorly member, you wouldn't have to worry about who to call to take care of an issue. Manorly is a concierge home management service that proactively handles all your home maintenance issues and remodeling needs, even when you are away. From changing your AC filters to handling unplanned emergencies, Manorly takes care of it all. In fact, they even guarantee their work. Hundreds of families in the Park Cities rely on Manorly to take away the stress of managing their home maintenance, and you should too. Just visit Manorly.com and schedule a free consultation with them. When they arrive, they perform a comprehensive walkthrough of your home and provide you with a highly personalized residence plan to make sure home is maintained to the highest standard. So whether you're on your next vacation or just busy with daily life, relax. Manorly is there to take care of your home. Well, what about all your other books? You have quite a few of them.
So I've done 8 other crime thrillers. They're all set in Texas. 7 of them are set in Dallas. One is kind of sort of set in Dallas, but not really. It's more of a road trip story. Goes from Dallas to far west Texas. I wrote a book that I really enjoyed called The Devil's Country. It came out, 2018 maybe. It's about a ex-Texas Ranger whose wife and children have been murdered, and he is emotionally devastated by that, as you can imagine. He ends up in this little dinky town, and he encounters a woman and her 2 children who remind him of his dead wife and dead children. And the next day, the woman is dead and the children have disappeared, and the sheriff tries to arrest him for the murder. And so he has to extricate himself from that situation, because not only does he not want to go to prison for the murder he didn't commit, but he realizes that no one is looking for those missing children. So he needs to find them, and the story works on that level, which he's trying to not be framed for this murder and find these kids, but it works on a kind of a deeper emotional level. He's trying to make amends for what happened to his own family.
Right.
And so that was an interesting book. It was published by a division of Amazon Publishing, division of Amazon, and they made it into something called Kindle in Motion, which I don't know if you've ever heard of. They don't do it anymore, but it's really an interesting thing. It's it's for the ebook only, and they took the book and they made a short film that went with the book.
Okay.
So if you read chapter 1 and it says he walks into a smoky bar, on your Kindle, on one side it'd be that text, he walks into a smoky bar. On the other side, there'd be an image of a looping video, short looping video of the character walking into a smoky bar.
Okay, I like that.
It's weird because they didn't do it very long because people want to read or they want to watch movies, but it was a lot of fun. They shot a very abbreviated short film based on that book. Amazon did. And I got to go on the set. I'd never been on a movie set before, so that was a lot of fun. And I have a cameo in it. I play a bartender. So it's a lot of fun. So if anybody buys the ebook edition of that, you can see the Kindle in Motion.
And seeing you have your big moment on screen.
My big moment as a bartender, right. It was a ton of fun. And I never understood I didn't understand that my brain does not work that way. I want to read a book or watch a movie. I don't want to kind of do both at the same time. But it was a fun thing to do. I go out to be on a set. We filmed it outside of Las Vegas.
Okay.
Which was really cool. And they used a bar. This is interesting. They filmed it mostly in a bar outside of Las Vegas. And it was where Clark Gable waited while he sat and drank and smoked cigars while he's waiting to hear about whether Carol Lombard died in a plane crash.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes.
Wow.
And so I'm like, how in the world did I end up in this bar outside of Vegas?
That is interesting.
It was fascinating.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that Texas gives you a lot of inspiration. I do feel like we kind of have more than our fair share of murders and things like that happen in the state.
We have a lot of interesting, outlandish characters.
Right?
I will say that. Yes, we do. Yeah. And in Dallas, too, and in the Park Cities. There's all kinds of interesting people in the Park Cities.
Why do you think they come to Texas specifically?
Right.
I wonder what the draw is.
I don't know. It's a big state, a lot of opportunity, and just wide open spaces.
Yeah, plenty of things that can happen. So speaking of our area in Highland Park, we call it the Bubble, and it's this beautiful, pristine little, almost Norman Rockwall type of a community.
Right.
And sometimes it's hard to believe that anything bad does happen here. In fact, my own kids, when I'm like, set the alarm, lock the door, they're like, Mom, we live in one of the safest neighborhoods. I'm like, there's still stuff that happens every now and then.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about writing more about our community?
First of all, to your kids, do set the alarm and do lock the door. But yes, I have thought about writing something set in the Park Cities. I think it'd be a great place for a murder mystery.
Yeah.
Kind of not really a cozy mystery, but not quite as hard boiled as I usually do. But I think there's a lot of interesting characters. That there's a lot of story gold to mine here in the Park Cities.
Yes, for sure. Okay, we'll put that on your list
I will, yes.
in the near future.
In the near future.
We would love to see that. So I am a huge fan of the Highland Park Lit Fest. It is coming up this February, and it's such a wonderful opportunity for people like yourself to get out there and just educate the high schoolers on, all the things that go into being an author. What kind of advice would you offer these kids?
So, I love the Highland Park Lit Fest. I appeared there years ago for first or second book. I can't remember, but I speak fairly often on the creative process and writing and stuff. So the best thing I can tell you is to get started somehow. There's a lot of people who want to write. I talk about writing, think about writing. I'm going to write. I'm going to do it. But you need to get started. There's any number of books and courses you can take, and some help, some don't. But really, the biggest advice I have is to never give up.
Right.
I mean, it's a matter of persistence. Writing is a matter of persistence.
Well, it's just like if you play a sport or anything else, just keep practicing,
Right.
repetition, right? And the more you do it, the better you'll get at it.
You got to Malcolm Gladwell that stuff, 10,000 hours. You got to put the time in. You got to get started. Not saying you need 10,000 hours before you can write a book, but I mean, you've got to stretch those muscles.
Yeah, just get in there and get going. Well, let's go just a little bit deeper and talk a little bit more about the process, like frameworks, and share your opinion about ChatGPT. Do you use index cards? How do you do this?
So I write from an outline now. I do not use index cards. I start an outline in a Microsoft Word document and go from there. I know people that do index cards. It does not work for me.
Just not your thing.
That is not my thing. I do essentially the same thing in a word processing document. Not a fan of ChatGPT. I mean,
I think most people are not.
There is some use to it, and it's going to be here. I don't know if I don't think in our lifetime it's ever going to replace actual writers.
Good.
It doesn't. I just don't. I don't see it doing that. There's still an art to it that a human being brings to the table. I asked ChatGPT about a year ago to write a bio of me, and it had me 5 years older than I am. Hello, what's wrong with that?
That's rude.
It had me having children that I didn't have, and being a TV producer where I never was, and writing books that don't exist.
Wow.
So I'm not really thinking it's the bomb. I don't know. Call me crazy. So I have studied. I've read every book there is on writing, and I've taken a bunch of courses over the years, and I've really tried it. All of that informs the creative process for me. Most books, most stories follow the 3-act structure to some degree, because that is something we've all been exposed to. And I think it's innate in us. There's some DNA thing. I think the cavemen back in, 10,000 years ago, they're talking about killing the woolly mastodon. They're telling it in the 3-act structure. And when I talk to people, I don't say, no, you have to write in the 3-act structure. Do your outline in the 3-act structure and the hero's journey and all that stuff. Yeah, okay. I mean, you're going to do that naturally because that's innate in most people. Understand it, know about it, read Vogler's book on that. But I also love Stephen King's book on writing. That is a great book to help you get started on the writing process. Yeah. But what I tell people is they know more about creating a story than they think they do.
Okay.
So it's a Star Wars kind of thing. The Force is in you, Luke Skywalker. I mean, it really is. So
right.
Kind of trust your instincts. Read the books, take the classes, let that inform you. And then I made the mistake when I was writing my first book of holding, I think it was Vogler's book, next to the keyboard as I was typing. And I'm like, oh, that doesn't work. So I had to put the books down, all the notes down, all that stuff, and just kind of go with the flow, kind of go with what was in me. And it worked out. So don't ignore all that stuff, but don't feel wedded to it either.
Bound to it.
Right,
sure,
right.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
You've been such a pleasure to talk to. And how can people learn more about you and buy your book?
They can buy my book wherever books are sold, but please buy it at Park Cities. It's not really in the Park Cities, but Dallas's only independent general interest bookstore in Terabang on Lover's Lane, right by Eatsy's. You can also buy it wherever you want to online. And if you want to reach out to me or follow me on any of the socials or get on my newsletter or send me an email, you can reach me at my website, harryhunsicker.com. That's HARRYHUNSICKER.com.
And I will include that link, you guys, so you do not have to memorize that. Well, that's been another episode of the Bubble Lounge. I'm Martha Jackson, and I'll see you next time.